Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome back to the Tool World Podcast. I'm your host, David Jew, and I'm here with Master Jew.
Hello, hello, Mr. Jew.
Hello. All right, this week we're going to be covering the wedging blocks. I had a little question about this.
Okay.
So when we utilize the knife hand or the outer form, the arm is bent about 35 degrees. Okay.
The elbow.
The elbow.
The elbow is.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, is that a 35 degrees forward or facing outwards?
Outward.
Outwards, okay.
Outwards.
So what that means is that the elbow is, farther to the left or right than the hands themselves. That's correct?
Right. So I would say that it's not straight up and down.
Okay.
That would be kind of like a
parallel
parallel block,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about that, let's say mid-side block, it's just, the elbow sticks out a little bit, so it's not straight up and down.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I would say that is about the same angle. So if I was to say, ooh, what's the angle on the side block, mid-side block? I would say 35. It's very similar to a wedging block.
Right.
But it doesn't say in the encyclopedia, although the encyclopedia does say the wedging block is 35.
35, okay. And obviously we don't want to have the wedging block too wide as well. So
shoulder line.
Lines up with the shoulder line.
Shoulder line, right.
And now the question.
Blocking tool.
Okay, the blocking tool is with the shoulder line, right?
Right.
The elbow.
And so the elbow.
35.
And so why not straight up and down, like a parallel block?
Right.
I mean, if you think about like that technique and you're executing a technique, let's just take a look at like side blocks. If it was straight up, it's got to go in and out. But that's kind of a difficult, not to say you can't do it,
right.
But what we want to do is we want it to go in about 1 inch deep, and then it retracts back. And I think that retraction ends up being about 35 degrees.
Okay. Now the question comes up to when we utilize the reverse knife hand or the inner form. So now the hands are actually placed in an outwards fashion, so the elbows are, closer to the center of the body than the hands.
Right.
And I want to talk a little bit about why do we do that, and also where do the hands line up? Because are they going to line up with the shoulder line?
Again, the blocking tool lines up with the shoulder line.
But then so then the hands are actually quite far close in, or are they facing like out?
Well, close in or out?
Because to line up with the shoulder line, I have to kind of crunch my elbows
I don't think it's too close to my body.
Oh, okay, so it's only a slight amount.
It's just a slight amount, but the blocking tool, let's say I'm doing it with the reverse knife hand, or let's just say inner form. That inner form has got to line up with the shoulder line. And again, it's that angle, because what we want to do is we want to go 1 inch deep past your tacking tool, and then you have to retract it.
Okay.
Right? And so it's got to be this angle.
And so would that be different than if I use like a mid-side block with the outer form versus the inner form? Because when I do it with the inner form on just a middle block, then my elbow is facing outwards, right? So why do we face the elbows inwards for the wedging block?
No, that's a good question. If you think about that, that's be something like this. Can you, like this, versus like this. Which one's going to give you a little bit more?
Range of motion?
Range of motion.
Right, and if we were to actually turn the hands outwards for the outer form one, like this could be almost too much of a range of motion versus this, right? Because I am engaging different muscles, right? Not to say that I can't do it, but the range is a little bit different depending on how we orient our hands too.
Right. I would agree with that.
All right, so let's jump back to the wedging block. And so what is your position on the outer form versus inner form? Why is it? So we talked about like going out and then in and a bigger range of motion. Is that everything that you think that there is to it?
Well, I think you have to look at it, the application. What are you doing?
Is it not the same, whether or not I use inner form, outer form?
Well, I think they are the same, but when we talk about wedging blocks, what I'm saying is, why would I do a wedging block versus an outer form block?
Well, you have two people.
It could be two people, or someone's trying to grab you. Maybe it's a twin vertical punch.
Oh, you mean why do I do an inner form wedging block versus an outer form wedging block?
I would say, well, why would you punch with your right versus your left? Why would I block, if I was doing a side block, why would I do it with the outer form versus the inner form? Well, there are different reasons for that.
Yeah.
It's the way you execute it. It's like when I talk about side blocks, I kind of feel like the outer form or knife hand is more like a chop.
Yeah.
Whereas if I do a reverse knife hand or inner form, it's more of like a bigger swing, like using a bat. It's the intermediate position. It's the way the technique flows, right? And I think that's probably true here.
Yeah, I would agree with that because if you look at the outer form wedging block, the range of motion is pretty short here. But when we do like the inner form, it kind of comes, it does have to travel a larger distance.
Well, you do also have other techniques, like for instance, doing a pressing block, and then you had to do a wedging block.
Okay.
So if I did a pressing block, I had to reset for the outer form. It would be much more difficult, wouldn't it? Especially if I'm doing it quickly.
Right.
You could do it, but does it give you the same amount of power? It's all classical.
Classical, yeah. Well, I think something that I was kind of thinking about, you tell me. I think when you look at like the anatomy of a person, so when you look at somebody that's like straightforward, the position in like when you look at in a scientific way, and they have the palms facing outwards. So I'm standing down and the fingers are facing downwards and the palm faces outwards. And the elbows naturally shoot outwards, right? Yeah, not too, yeah, no, it's not like that.
Not like that.
But they are on the outside, right?
No,
but then when I turn the hands around, so I'm standing out, it's on the inside, right? So to me, it seems almost like just the way the body is made.
It's natural.
It's natural to actually have the elbows inwards when your palms face towards you, and your elbows outwards when your palms face away from you.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I mean, it's kind of like if you want to explain something, you just say it's natural.
Yeah, that's true.
It's natural. Why is my closed raise stance C? It's the right hand on top versus the left hand. It's just natural.
Yeah.
Whichever one.
Right. Right. Well, we've talked about that before, and a lot of it's just theory at this point.
Theory, that's right.
Unless a grandmaster wants to step in, or General Che rises from the grave. Right. We could ask those kind of questions. All right. So let's move on.
I think they do have an AI.
Yeah.
AI General Che asks them a question and he can respond to it.
Okay. But it has to pull from somewhere, so somebody's writing that.
Someone's writing it, exactly.
Yeah. All right, so let's cover through, the times that we do use the wedging block. We'll just finish it up there.
When do you use it?
Yeah, when do we use the wedging block?
The application, you mean?
Yeah.
Again, I would say, that's a good question. I mean, because you do have parallel blocks, right? You have W-shaped blocks that could be dealing with two opponents. Wedging blocks, though, I do think it's more like someone's trying to grab you by the back of your neck, maybe a twin vertical punch, and you're trying to, like in Do-san, I mean, I think Do-san would be a good example. When you do that wedging block, you actually have to square off. You have to be full facing towards that opponent in order to do the wedging block.
So it's actually more of a front block, actually.
It's more of a front block,
okay.
Exactly.
Right. So only from a full facing position can I execute this.
I mean, like if you use the Do-san situation, where you're kind of rotating and then doing the block, it's more like in Do-san, it would be more like a mid-side block or high-side block with the left outer form, and the other hand just end up being like a reaction hand or something.
Right.
But it'd have to be full-facing.
Well, let us know your guys' thoughts on why is the hand or elbows facing out versus in, depending on the type of wedging block that you have.
You ever seen it done in real life?
Using the block?
Like MMA?
Yeah, someone's trying to grab you. Yeah.
Works.
Yeah, then you go for the knee strike, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So let us know you guys' thoughts. As always, don't forget to be safe.
Keep training.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Take one.